Hi, guys, and welcome to our webcast all about money talks. My name's Teresa, and I'm Head of Education and Marketing at FitPro, and I'm joined by Ene from Gymcatch. I'm sure you know that we have a partnership with Gymcatch, and one of the reasons I wanted to pick her brains was because she knows the know. So she's in the industry, but she's got some basic pearls of wisdom that she's going to share. What I'm really aware of, we're all really aware of, is the changes in our costs. So we want to have those conversations right now so that we can come up with some top tips. So is this a time for us to have conversations about our pricing? You know, do we change it? How do we communicate it to our members? Are there any strategies that are going to help us? So the topic is money talks. So let's start talking about it. For me, in this industry, I've always found it quite difficult because I've always thought, this is my passion. I really struggled at first to put prices up and stuff like that. So I hope from today, what Ene brings to this conversation is really going to help you. Ene, thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. My name is Ene Corral. You may have seen me around on some of the Facebook groups. I work for Gymcatch, which is a booking and customer management system for fitness and wellness professionals. I'm a personal trainer myself, and I've been working in marketing and business development for the past nearly 15 years now. And I'm absolutely delighted to be part of your webcast, Teresa. Thank you very much for having us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you, Ene. So I know that we've talked about what we're going to cover. So there's a lot of, like I say, there's going to be some gems in here. A lot of us struggle about prices and stuff, and this is a tough time. So let's get to it. So the first thing I wanted to ask is this the time to be putting your prices up? Everyone, including the FitPro, is affected by the changes in costs and stuff right now. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I truly believe, obviously, inflation is proving to be very challenging for many, many people. I think the important thing to consider here is that is everyone, or are your customers, all of them, being affected by inflation? Some people will be affected a little bit more, and some other people will be affected a little bit less. So I think it's important to seek feedback and understand very well what your customers are experiencing now and how is that impacting them. But most importantly, really, is to look inside and look at your business and understand how your costs are rising up. And if your costs are rising up by, say, for example, $500 more or £500 more a month, then you will need to think about ways of how you can mitigate that higher cost, whether that could be by increasing your prices or bringing in additional or making some savings, some efficiency savings, really. But I think it's really important. Two ways, really, is to first look at your customers and what's happening to them, how it's affecting them, seeking that feedback and having that open and honest conversation with them, and looking inward into your business, into your costs and how they are affecting you. Without that, you won't be able to really understand and know, okay, I'm in a position now to raise my costs. And also it will really prepare you to build some form of context around your next steps. So once you have decided to up your costs, obviously your biggest task will come following that, which will be how are you going to be communicating that rise to your customers. So it's good and important that you have a good framework and understand and have a good view into your business performance. I apologize, Teresa.
There's a phone call. That's so funny, isn't it? Shall I bring up your slide? The slide I was mentioning. Ene, talk about it for us, please.
Brilliant. Yeah. So what I was trying to say earlier is obviously inflation presents a challenge for most people, but it also presents an opportunity. And I think that that's what we really need to hold ourselves up to. Sometimes we can really focus on that negativity of, oh my gosh, inflation is going up, costs are going up. My customers might not be ready to take on my price increases. How am I going to manage this? And really get ourselves into a panic. And that's when we have to really stop everything, reassess the business, really audit your business and think about, right, what am I really offering? Am I offering a class or am I offering a service? And also really consider around the opportunities that that increase in inflation may bring to your business. For example, there are businesses that, right, increasing costs will give them the opportunity to really reassess the actual costs and processes and operations. So do I, for example, I run my own PT business. It's a boot camp. It's a very small business. It's a very humble business. I call it a very ambitious business. I'm looking at, for example, my processes. So one of the costs that I was looking at reducing were around reducing the communication costs. So do I really need my MailChimp account when most of my customers really do prefer to communicate over the in-app message system on Gymcatch or just WhatsApp? Do I really need that cost attached if my classes are only £7 the hour? So those are the things that you could start to consider and see how you can bring those operations a little bit, streamline them a little bit, simplify them, and cutting those costs. Another opportunity that presents is obviously growing your services, right? So going back to what I said earlier is it my service to deliver, if I'm a group instructor, is it my service to deliver just the one class, or if it's my service really to deliver a bigger service? You know, am I selling, so taking back on my words, am I selling just a class, or am I selling a service or a program? And it's how can you commit your customers to stay with you for longer in that sense? So building your operations around that and how you present your services to your customers so they stick for a little bit longer. And that could be by adding value as well, whether that's by providing them with extra resources, how to tips, you know, or providing them with some content, interesting content that they may gain access to, whether that's your video library or your written content, your blogs, or even a Facebook group, you know, that will help them stick and stay for a little bit longer. And I think that one of the, I don't want to call it an error, but I think that one of the things that fitness professionals we are realizing is that we are not just selling that one class, we are selling a whole service package, and people move together, people move on community grounds. So how can we get those people to continue to stick together? And the best way it's really to deliver that sort of like present your classes as a service instead of that unique or one class. So that's really growing your services. The other one, obviously, increasing your prices. So obviously assessing, you know, what your costs are, what your current situation is. And even if you have not been impacted by an increase in costs, you may still want to assess, you know, what situation you are at. And I think that's not an exercise that should be done not just because inflation has hit us. I think it's an exercise that should be done very periodically, whether that's every year or every 6 years. We run businesses. I know we don't like to say that because we are fitness professionals, right? And we like to do the good for our customers and give as much as we can. But at the end of the day, we also run a business and we need to protect ourselves. And I think it's important to look at our operations and costs very, very regularly. But it's something that really stick with me. So a Scamper is a method that businesses use to help them understand what the costs are in comparison to what the operations are. So if I'm paying my Canva invoice, right, my £10–11 a month, what's that doing for my business? Almost calculating what's the return on investment, right? So are there any costs that I can substitute, that I can combine? I was talking earlier about my MailChimp account, and obviously I run a very, very small business, but very ambitious. So I can reduce that cost because most of my customers like talking through the Gymcatch in-app messaging system anyway, or through WhatsApp. So are there any costs as well that I can adapt and change? Are there any costs that I can put and just leave them as they are, or completely eliminate? Or are any costs that I can reverse because they're having a very negative effect? So there is actually a little downloaded I think it's downloadable, or at least you can click on it and expand it on Gymcatch's blog. The title is Cutting Costs. And in there, what I created is the methodology of a scamper, thinking from a group instructor business and looking at each cost that they may have, from whether that's venue rental, insurance, education, to, what are your fuel costs, your equipment, all of that. And I went one by one. It's a very big doc, but I think it gives you a very good idea as to how you can make things and really understand maybe more your business, and then it starts to really sort of like, all right, I'm going to eliminate this, but you know what, I'm going to bring this, or I'm going to actually use that for a little bit more than what I'm using it. Because the other thing as well, sometimes we pay for things that we don't use.
Exactly.
And we don't even realize until it's like a year or so later. And so I think that's why I want to keep reiterating how important it is to do these sort of exercises very regularly.
Yeah. And, some of the things, say, for example, I heard you talk about Canva. There's a free version. There are free versions of things. You don't always be having to pay the, it might be that you're using a scheduling thing for your social media. Are there ways you can get around that rather than paying for this, that, and the other? So absolutely. I think when we when we look at it, evaluate it, we're like, oh my gosh, I'm paying 20 quid for something that I don't actually, or haven't used,
Exactly.
So, and I think reaching out to your mates, and certainly, the blog that you create is super, super effective. I think what's so great about that blog is what a fitness professional can do is use it, because a lot of the time we just don't make time for these things. So this is a resource that you go, right, okay, I'm going to spend an hour to actually really think on this, and there will be a few light bulb moments that go off and go, oh my god, I didn't realize.
Exactly.
But
Absolutely.
and that's an easy thing to do, isn't it?
I agree completely, and I put my hand up as well. I'm the first one to say this is what everyone should be doing, and then for my business, sometimes I take a step back and I'm like, I do it tomorrow, or I do it next month. Or you know what, my prices haven't increased that much, around me. So do I need to do it? Yes, do it. And even if you have to set yourself reminders, every 3 months, I'm gonna look at my business. I'm gonna do an audit of my business. You are the best person as well to do that, more so than anyone else, more so than if you're using an accountant, that's a very different story, But if you are a solo trader, if you're an independent fitness professional, please, please, please keep a tab and stay on top of your costs.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to stop sharing this just now so we can see you. Hello. I also want to encourage people to not apologize for putting their prices up or even justifying it. You can say to people, the price is going up. From then there'll be these. I'm really glad that we've been working together for a long time. You don't say, because of the change of cost of living, I've had to put my prices up. I'm really sorry. I mean, we do feel bad, of course, but as soon as there's a kind of, I don't know, there's too much of an apology there, it implies there's something wrong in it. And actually, that's not reflective of good business, in my opinion.
No.
What are your thoughts on that?
Right? Your customers might be right now mentally expecting actually a price increase, because everything else around them is increasing, or they may not.
Yeah.
Right? But only you really will know that, because you are the closest person to them. I agree with you on the apology side of things completely, and I think that. Even not too long ago, I think it was a year ago, when I was going to train a friend of mine, and I thought, I'm going to give her a very reduced rate, right? Because it's a friend. And I gave her, I won't even say it because you'll be like, what? So it was very, very cheap rate. And I was apologizing for it. I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm going to have to charge you this. But then you think about it and you think, well, I'm a certified personal trainer. I did an optimum training performance course as part of my personal training course. I have X amount of years in the industry. What am I apologizing, and I'm already giving her a discount anyway. But I just think it's we fitness professionals, I think that we are a little bit more empathetic than the general population. We really want to do the best that we can for everybody, and I think that that's something that we just carry our hearts in our sleeves, and we have to become a little bit tougher with some decisions.
Yes,
Sure.
absolutely. And I'm hearing you say that, and there's always that awkward thing between friends about talking about money. But actually, if you reduce your rates too much, mates' rates, it makes them feel uncomfortable because they're like, oh God, I can't believe, even though they're thinking, well, yeah, that's a bit cheaper. They actually often feel like, what, you deserve more. And so let's stop apologizing for putting things
Do
up.
you know what I do now, Teresa, anyway? What I do now is for absolutely anybody, friends, family, Joe Smith from next door, I just send them my booking system link, my Gymcatch link, and I said, this is how you can book. And this is, your 3-step to book, because then I don't have to have that awkward conversation either.
Exactly. It does it for you, right?
Sorry about that.
Perfect. So how would you communicate a price increase to keep everybody happy?
Yes, so I think that's the biggest next step. And if anything, actually the most important one, and it's probably the one that we will neglect or may neglect a little bit more. So communication obviously is hugely important, but giving notice to your customers is probably even more important than anything else. I think if I was to take it back, I think obviously once you have spoken to your customers or your clients and they understand what's going to happen, it's giving them as much notice as you can so that they can, adjust to that change that is coming. They may also, in their personal lives, may need to make some changes themselves to some of their spend to accommodate your services. So giving them that opportunity for them to adjust to the price increase, I think that will pay dividends. Obviously, from my communication standpoint, from sending them emails about it, having a one-to-one personal conversation or a group conversation with them, even if you just want to take your most loyal customers, the ones that, or your champions, and just have that one-to-one conversations with them, they would really, really appreciate that. And we don't want to say sorry all the time, because we don't want to use that word, right? We deserve our price increase. However, it's important as well to give some context, because it's important as well for them to understand, how things are affecting you. You are a business, but you're also a human, and we want that also. We want that attachment, that emotional attachment as well. So we don't want them just to look at us as a business. We want them to look at us for far more than that. And giving them a little bit of context will really help them understand a little bit more the whys and why it's that amount as well, and why it's not, crazy amounts. So yes, I think communicating, giving them notice, and then seeking that feedback as well from them once you have done it, and once it's been a couple of months or 3 months, why not have a chat with them as well and ask them how they're getting on and how they're finding the price increase. That will really help.
Nice. Yeah. And as you were saying that, just sprang into my mind that I know I'm saying don't say sorry, but I think what we can do is acknowledge that we know it may affect them.
Exactly.
Even saying to them, guys, I know there's been lots of changes in prices. My prices are going up as well. I'm giving you loads of notice so that you can make any adjustments and see if it's still right for you. I'm really aware that this is, potentially going to affect you as well.
Exactly. Exactly, absolutely. And continue to drill in the benefits, right? I'm committed to you. I'm committed to your journey. I'm committed to you achieving your goals. I really want to make, that transformation that you're after happen, and for me to really make it happen, I unfortunately have to increase my costs.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Okay. So the next one I've got here, what low cost marketing strategies can you use to bring new people through your doors?
It's a tricky world, I feel, the one that we live in today. Like everything is so socially driven online. We are Now, for the first time, not now today, but since obviously social media came into place a bit strongly in the past, I would say 5-10 years especially, we now really have a very unique opportunity here, which is we get to see actually what our competitors are doing in and out. We know what they're doing. Before, it was behind closed doors. We never got a glimpse of anything. We probably got hands on a flyer, and we used to keep them, our competitor flyers, so that we could, do something better and more special than they were offering. But now we get a glimpse into that. So I think we need to take an opportunity with that as well, and not see it as a threat. Let's see it as an opportunity, because how lucky are we that we are able to see who our competitors' customers, what they're doing, what they're offering them, how much they're charging, and we get to see absolutely everything. And I think that's something that we should really take it on. And I know a lot of people are doing a lot of social posting, trying to schedule, trying to break that algorithm as well, like, should I be posting 2 days a week? Or should I be posting every day? Or should I be posting live? Should I be posting reels? The true fact is that algorithms, how they work, is that the more you live in the platform, the better your content will do. Because these social platforms want you to stay there. They want you to engage and stay there for as long as you can throughout the day, so they can charge then for sponsor ads the money that they are charging, right? So they want you to consume as many tools and as many features within those social media platforms. So the more you're utilizing those, the more you're engaging and giving back to other people as well. So the way to increase your followers is not just by posting and sharing and sharing and sharing. It's actually by giving back to other fitness professionals as well, and engaging with their content too, or taking part on interesting discussions, and increasing your profile that way. But I would say the number one channel that will always be there, regardless whether that's traditional marketing or online marketing, it will always be referral marketing, word of mouth. People trust people. And recently I wrote a blog on referral marketing, on how fitness professionals can create their own referral program at a very low cost. And I was reading a Nielsen report, and Nielsen report highlighted that 80% of people buy from people. And it's so truthful. So truthful. The second that you recommend something, Teresa, to me, where you will say, you know what, Ene, this activewear, these leggings are incredible, squat proof, I can do box jumps, nothing shows. I'll be like, oh, and they look amazing, Teresa. Where do you get them from? I got them from here. Actually, Ene, this is a referral code that I have. You can get a 10% off. And in the same way, we can translate that back to our own customers and our own business, right? Can I give my very loyal customers, or my champions, as I like to call them, a discount or a reward or an incentive for them recommending new customers? Because the likelihood is that the more people that they bring to the classes, the more they will stick, because the community, we're building a community that is based on their communities as well. So it's harder to sort of like come out of them as well. Not that we want to, hold people hostages to our services, but it's I think in English you say you follow herds, or the herd community. You follow the herd community, right?
Yes.
So, exactly. So what we want to focus at is, okay, I have customers, I'm going to call them my community. This is my community. From my community, who are my champions? Who are the guys that, come to every class, that engage on every post or on every conversation that I mention to them, that they get most excited about a new class format potentially, that I might be introducing, and really getting them to really even get more excited about, recommending your services to their friends and family. And they will do, I promise you. Sometimes what we don't do too well too is ask. And we will be very surprised. Referral marketing works like a treat. Building on those customer testimonials, that costs no money. You have your customers there. Make sure that before they leave, if they do, hopefully not, but if they do, that you have their testimonial, that you have a case study, or that you have, all the different elements that you will need to then continue to help you market your services.
Love that. Yeah. And I think it is just asking, if they are your champions, they're your biggest fans, they do a lot of the work anyway. I
Yeah,
think acknowledging that's really great. But there's nothing wrong in asking for people to say, look, I'd love more people here so that we get to
exactly.
share it. And, and
Absolutely.
people, so we're talking in a group situation here, but the community is so very key. You said something very important was about what you're doing for them is that you're committed to them and stuff like that, but in groups people are committed to one another, and they
Yeah,
show up not just for the session, they show up because they know actually that so and so kind of needs them there. There's this
yeah,
camaraderie kind of going on. So I think work with that. And you're right, that is
absolutely.
definitely cheap, isn't it? Getting
Yeah,
people to
exactly.
talk
And
about
you give
you.
an accountability for them as well, right? All of a sudden, they're holding themselves accountable, and amongst themselves, they're becoming, they're asking to, I had recently, Viviana say to Anna, you haven't come for the last 2 weeks. What's happening here?
There you go.
In front of
Exactly.
everybody, And one that saved me the awkward conversation for me to have with my customer, because I'm terrible at that sort of stuff. But at the same time, because she said it in such a natural way, the response of Anna was like, you know what, my work has just been absolutely crazy, but now I'm willing to actually work even harder, and everyone was so welcoming to have her back. And that's the
Right.
spirit that you want to build, you want them to build that accountability as well.
And that they recognized, and they missed her,
Yeah,
right? That's really
exactly.
important, isn't it? Because they're like,
Exactly.
oh, I was immersed in business, but somebody missed me. That's
Yeah,
a really powerful thing that you've created in
exactly.
that
And that's the
community.
effect you
Really
want to have
important.
with people, isn't it?
Yeah. When we're talking about price increases and stuff like that, what are your thoughts on sort of putting prices up for maybe your new people, but keeping the prices down for your regulars, or even
Yeah.
special offers? What are your
Hmm.
thoughts?
Interesting one, Teresa. And it's actually one that I have been seeing very often lately on Facebook groups, and some of the,
Yeah.
especially perhaps more on the PT groups, which I take more of an active role in, what interest in. I do see a lot of them, a lot of people upping their prices just for new customers. Now, from an outset, if it looks like what a great idea, right? Because you're keeping your loyals at a very reduced rate, and only your new customers will take the new price hike. They don't know anything else, right? So they will be fine. I initially thought to do that about for my business, because I was seeing everybody doing it and everyone was talking about it. So I was like, that might be something I have to do, right? But then I realized, okay, from a theory perspective, it's great, but when I put it into hypothesis, that's where I see the deficiencies there. And unless that you can guarantee an X amount of number of new clients per month or per year,
Yes. Yes.
you can't do that. You won't survive. You will not survive. So I will say, okay, let's increase the prices for everybody. However, what I would do differently is I will add value to my services. So now my boot campers or my sweaty Ene campers, they are not just coming to my boot camp once a week. They are getting regular check-ins. They're getting content that I post, I'm sharing specific content that it has private access just for them on Gymcatch, whether that's a few videos, like 10 minutes on app work or 15-minute workout, at your desk or things like that. I really understand the situation of my customers as well. My customers are all at desks. So how can I help them, keep moving and keep
Yeah.
motivated? So things like that, or whether that's nutritional advice, if you can provide that, obviously. So I think instead of thinking of, I'm going to do it for once and not for others and not for others, that also becomes very confusing. You want to
Yeah.
keep your processes and your operations as simple as you can. You don't want to complicate them any further, because we didn't come into this industry to be administrators. We came to this business
No.
to do more of what we love doing, which is delivering
Yes.
exercise in our communities.
Okay.
However, what I would do is bring on that referral program in place.
Nice.
And I would say to my most loyal customers, to my champions, I would say, I'll tell you what, if you bring a friend, you get next free class, or I give you £5 towards your next class, or you will get an Amazon voucher, you know, of £10, whatever that is,
Yeah.
whatever that value that you can obviously afford. I would do that instead.
Nice, love that. Okay, and I think probably the last one we'll go for, and is always a challenge, is people cancelling sessions. How do we still charge people? How long do we give them? What about if they say, oh, but you know, sometimes you've got people just going on holidays, so it's easy because you can go, well, you know, there's, if you don't turn up, we still have to charge. But then there's other people that've got really like big, not stories, but things that are going on in their life. How do you, you know, how do you deal with that? You know, if they cancel last minute because they're unwell, they cancel because their kid's unwell or something bad's happened, what is it? One rule for all? How do you deal with it?
Yeah, sure. I think, well, the most important thing is, how do I onboard a new client? When a new client comes to use my PT services, how am I onboarding them? So the way that I do it is, obviously, I use Gymcatch as my booking system, which is great because it will ask them to complete the health questionnaire, the FAQ form. It will ask them to, you know, to read my terms and conditions. And it will ask them as well to have a look at my cancellation policy. And they will have to, you know, to agree and tick and say, yes, I have read this. Setting the expectation from the start is hugely, hugely important. Now, obviously, emergencies happen to absolutely everybody. And that's something that, unfortunately, is life. And sometimes we can't, you know, predict. And we have to deal with them as and when they come. I think that those situations that have to be handled on that one-to-one, but hopefully not many people are having those, right? Hopefully you're not having the same customer every week going, I have an emergency today, because then there's a pattern, right, of behavior. And that's when you have to really then go be very strict and really have that awkward chat with your customer. Now, I talk about that onboarding process and cancellation and terms and conditions. So before setting expectations at the very start, I'd rather have a cancellation than a no-show, because with a cancellation, I have two opportunities. One, it's either through my cancellation policy, depending on what it says for that specific service, I can either refund the money, or I can move that customer to the next booking slot, offer them the opportunity to rebook, right? Or I can, and apologies for this one because I just lost my train of thought all of a sudden.
It's okay. You were just saying,
it
happens all the time. That happens all the time to me. You were just saying about there's kind of, you would rather have a cancellation than a no-show. Yeah. Does that help?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, because obviously the no-show, with the cancellation, at least if I have my cancellation policy in place, I have my different avenues on how to tackle that, right? I was just saying earlier that I can refund, I can rebook the person, which I rather do personally, or give them some credits back. But a no-show, you have lost that hour, that, you know, there's no opportunity for you to move that person. Or, you know, if it was cancelled as well, I have a wait list, which is automated. It will just bump the next person into the class and give an opportunity for someone else to use that space, right?
Right.
So I rather the cancellations than no-shows. I see cancellations more positive than no-shows. And I think that having a cancellation policy, it's super, super key for you in your business. It will protect your income, but it really, really will remove a lot of hassle for you as well, you know, and having to follow up, you know, and having to explain and having to call them and all of that. So I would say have a cancellation policy in place for every service that you offer. Get your customers at the point of onboarding and signing up, understand, you know, what your services and what expectations are, whether that's, you know, arriving on time, bringing water, a mat, you know, simple things, to actually, you know, if you cancel 24 hours or 48 hours before, you will have the opportunity to rebook, or you will get some credit backs, or you will get a refund, whatever you can afford to give, really.
Absolutely. And I feel if those expectations are managed in the beginning, then it makes the conversations easier. You can just say, you can refer to them and just say, the cancellation, my cancellation policy means that because you didn't cancel within 48 hours, that's going to be this. So you can
Exactly.
kind of not blame it on that, but just kind of, it's almost out of my control. I have no thing. And I think that it
Yeah.
is about, you know, being really strict with that, because it just makes it sounds bizarre, but people struggle, doesn't sound bizarre, people struggle with adherence often to exercise, and they know that if they've paid and they're
Exactly.
going to still be charged, I'll bet you any money they turn up for their
Yeah.
session. But if
And
they think, oh, Ene will let me off, guess what?
yeah,
They only do that a few times, and then no one misses them in the class, and they've now
exactly.
lost their whole way with it. So I
Exactly.
think,
Build, and I
important.
think that
Sorry.
building your services and your payments so that your customers pay you upfront, and something that we were
Mm,
touching base earlier, right? Like get them to pay you upfront. So one, you get to forecast what your income predictions are. But secondly, you have already that money, and that customer has already paid. Therefore, they feel even more committed than ever to really turn up to class. And we see
absolutely.
something really interesting on Gymcatch, actually, and we see that taking payment at the point of booking reduces cancellations by 40%. And that's a huge, huge number. And I think that
Wow.
it really highlights how important it is really to have a cancellation policy in place and take that
Mhm.
payment at the time of booking. I think that whether you run a 1 class a week or 2 classes or 20 classes a week, I think that taking that payment at the door, that has to change. If you want a business to grow and thrive and survive
Mhm.
in current climate, the best option for you is to take payment upfront.
Wow, that's significant. That's significant. 40%, isn't it? That's incredible. Okay, I know we wanted to talk money talks and stuff. So, is there anything that you wanted to highlight that we haven't covered so far, Na?
Oh, not really. No, I would say I, I I heard something really that I loved and it really stuck with me about 8 months ago, and it was actually a fellow fitness professional who said this, and she said, "You want your customers to talk about you even at the dinner party." And I think, or at their office party, whatever situation where they are that is outside your services, you want them to talk about you because they are your biggest promoters and those will be your champions. Make sure you build your champions, you build your community, and that you see this the situation that we're currently at with inflation, with costs going up, that you see it as an opportunity. And as an opportunity for many things, whether that's to reduce costs, whether that's to increase prices, or whether that's to add even more value to your services, it is an opportunity.
Love that. Love that. And I think, I just want to really acknowledge that, fitness professionals have stuck through some really difficult times have been there. And I have been there day in, day out, whether it's been online, meeting in parks, whatever it is, they've really done that. And one of the reasons I wanted to have this chat with you is I feel that, there's almost a bit of fatigue that's set in. We've seen people leaving the industry, and I would really hate for people to think that they don't have this opportunity to just slightly tweak things so that they can still thrive and be there to support the people who actually need them. So I want to acknowledge the sort of fatigue that's we know's there, and that we
Been
don't
tough
now
going,
want
actually.
this. It's been tough, and I don't want this to now be that final little obstacle that they go, do you know what, I just can't. So
Exactly.
hopefully we've
Teresa, and you know how much I love this industry. I
Mhm.
feel so passionate about the work that we all do, to help people move, to help people stay active. And exactly that. I'm seeing friends, I'm seeing colleagues, even myself to at one point I was thinking, I'm gonna have to close the doors, like my numbers. I remember having my classes, because I run my classes at the local park, from 20 people to now 5, 7 people. and thinking, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world, right? This is it, the end of my business. Okay, it probably looks from the outside, but now those 7 people are part of a program and they're taken into phases. And so they are on phase 1. And there's a number of phases, you know, almost like, you know, martial arts when you do your grading and you get your belts.
Yes.
My customers are now getting their little belts as well, you know, and they're working towards their goals, you know, and those the program is made specifically, to help them meet their goals, you know, and reach that. And what I'm trying to do now is add more services. They're paying far more than they have ever paid before. They're not paying per class. They're actually paying, you know, bundles and blocks, so that they stick a little bit for longer. And yes, I think this we should take it as an opportunity, and hopefully, you know, those people, unfortunately, that people that obviously are having to make really tough decisions for themselves, because, you know, I'm seeing a lot of people as well taking part-time jobs now, so that they can, you know, continue to deliver some community classes. And I think that everybody will have to do whatever it takes, you know, to pay their bills. And every situation is very, very unique. But at the same time, if I could live with some hope that there is also an opportunity, and that there's a lot of things as well that we can be doing to help our business. Hopefully that's the last thing that I would like to leave.
That's lovely. And I just want to sort of mention back again, there's a number of blogs on Gymcatch's blog that will really assist in what we've been talking about. So people should check that out. Where can they find out more about Gymcatch? Let people know.
Sure. The thing that I love about Gymcatch as well is that we have such a wonderful community. It's whenever you go into Facebook groups, you know, and you're asking about booking systems, you see there's such an organic and natural flow of Gymcatch customers. And I love seeing that. Obviously, the main place that you want to go to understand what's Gymcatch, what the features on offer, what's the price. It's going to the website, www.gymcatch.com/business. If you want to register, obviously we have a discount with FitPro, which is FitPro 20. And that gives potential customers like yourselves 20% off for the first 12 paid months. The great thing about Gymcatch as well, which I really like about other systems, not to sound biased, but is the fact that there's no contract. So understanding the current situation, you don't want people to feel tied in for a year or more into a cost. Obviously, it's only £10 a month, depending on the add-ons that you take, but maximum anyone will pay, I believe, is between £25 and £26, give or take, which is still really, really affordable to help you run your business. And it has everything that I've been talking about, right? So you got your onboarding process there, you got the opportunity to collect health forms and waivers, cancellation policies, you know, build your different packages, whether that's, you know, you want to build memberships or bundles or just a one-to-one session or live stream or build your on-demand library and content. But yeah, if you go to the website, that's where you can find most of the information. Otherwise, I'm always on Facebook, Ene Corral, and you're more than welcome to DM me with any questions that you may have. I will be there to help.
Ene, that's so lovely. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. We catch up. Got to be honest, we catch up quite a bit. Anyway, away from these sort of things. So it's lovely to be able to see you also in this role of sharing such great advice to the FitPro community. What I love is that you're a real champion. I'm going to use your word. You're a real champion of our industry and, you know, excellence. So I absolutely commend you on that. And thank you very, very much. And I'm sure we will hear from you very, very soon. So I'm going to sign us off now, and we'll say goodbye. And my pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for watching this webcast. Bye-bye.
Thank you.